Hello everyone, my name is Natasya and I'm from Public Policy and Management Batch 2018. So on these occasions, I would like to discuss about what is disaster risk management, and on this video I also provide one case study related to Japan's strategy in facing earthquake and tsunami on 2011. First, before we jump into the case study, I would like to explain and discuss about the definitions of disaster risk management itself. So, according to Morgan on 2013, he stated that disaster risk management is referred to a mechanism aimed to reduce risk and negative impact of disaster. So, in other words, disaster risk management is about the applications of disaster risk reduction strategies and also policies to prevent new disaster risk. And I think on the definition of disaster risk management, the keyword here is about strategies on how the government can prevent the new disaster on the future. And besides that, disaster risk management can also manage residual risk. Next, according to my knowledge, the role of every stakeholders is very important to manage these disaster risk management issues, because every stakeholders has their primary responsibility for disaster risk reductions. For example, maybe by strengthening and implementing collaborations with international and national stakeholders, or maybe for another example, government can implementing new policies and strategies to reduce the disaster risk. Next, I will discuss about the case study related to Japan's strategy in facing earthquake and also tsunami in 2011. So in 2011, Japan was hit by an earthquake and which was followed by tsunami also. So because of this incident, Japan experienced several losses as a result of an earthquake, such as economic losses, infrastructure destroyed, and also many deaths. And as a result of this disaster, Japan is becoming more increasingly adept and conducting in-depth tsunami and earthquake studies, so that Japan has a good strategy for dealing with disaster. Next, on this discussion, we will find out what strategies that the government of Japan has adopted in dealing with disaster. So the first one is about developing disaster detection tools. So monitoring of wave on land and sea floor is one of the results of an earthquake and tsunami detection tools developed by disaster research team in Japan. So when an earthquake and tsunami strikes, the public may have enough time to evacuate and also minimize casualties due to the presence of this tool. So I think these tools is really help the public to minimize the risk of disaster itself. And next, for the second strategies are about building disaster emergency facilities. So in this case, Japan decided to build disaster emergency facilities in order to increase their quality in terms of disaster management. So a number of disaster emergency facilities, such as Tokyo Rinkai Disaster Prevention Park. So this place have been constructed by Japanese government, and this place also as a functions for shelters when disaster occurs in Japan. The third strategy is education about earthquake from an early age. So in this case, Japanese government has already started to providing education about earthquake preparedness for children as a compulsory lessons in schools. So they are given this knowledge in order to be ready for facing an earthquake, and they are also given lessons about how to taking cover under the table and how to follow the evacuation route in a calm and also orderly manner. To conclude, in my opinion, learning disaster risk management is very necessary for us to know how to minimize the risk of the disaster itself. And from the case study, we can also learn about the Japanese government that can seek a various way to be able to minimize and also anticipate the risk because of the disaster that happened in Japan that day because of the earthquake and also tsunami. And lastly, I think our country, Indonesia, can also learn and implement this Japan strategy to minimize the risk of the disaster in the future. So I think that's all about my explanation. Thank you so much for listening.